Welcome to the latest in Zelda music and fan theories. You're listening to Hyrule Academy, live on Radio Hyrule.
Everybody, this is me, Super MC Gamer, and welcome to Hyrule Academy, your weekly show right here on Radio Hyrule, where we talk all about Zelda lore and fan theories. It's a wonderful show we do here every Friday night at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and I'm always glad to be able to bring you not only these lore and theories, but also some great Zelda music. For example, starting off tonight's show, we heard the Hyrule Castle Courtyard theme, and that was a custom synthetic orchestra arrangement brought to you by Blake Robinson. Many of you know him. I believe he worked on this game Stanley Parable. He's a really great musician, and from what I've seen, a great guy in general. So thanks to Blake Robinson for that arrangement to start off our show and set the mood for our discussions this evening about Impa from Ocarina of Time. In case you're new to the show, quick explanation of what we're going to do here. I'm going to fill you guys in on basically some background about the story or character that we're talking about today. And then we're going to get to listen to some music, chill out, and discuss some questions that I have for you. And hopefully we're going to perform some fan theories ourselves and kind of discuss things that aren't normally talked about inside The Legend of Zelda, because usually if you play the game, you set it aside, and you play it maybe again in a couple of years. Instead, we're going to kind of dig into the game and see if we can take the story a step further than originally. And at the end of the show, we will recap what you guys have been thinking and theorizing inside the chat before we head off our separate ways for the evening. But we need to start at step one, which is giving you guys the backstory, the lowdown about who the heck Impa is. So Impa from Ocarina of Time. So we talked previously about Impa from Skyward Sword, but this is a different Impa, different person entirely, and it's set later in the timeline during the events of the game Ocarina of Time. And Impa is a character who's born in Kakariko Village, which was formerly apparently a exclusively Sheikah town. Like if you want to go to Kakariko, you gotta be a Sheikah. That's their town. That's their providence of the world. Whatever you want to say, it's their place. But as Impa grew up, she became quite an influential force in the town, from what we can see. She's the one who ends up sealing Bongo Bongo beneath the well originally. So as you know, Bongo Bongo breaks free in Ocarina of Time, but the first person who sealed her sealed Bongo Bongo originally under the well was Impa. So shout out to Impa for doing the evil slang. We really appreciate that here in Kakariko. And she also opened up Kakariko to the public. She said this is no longer a Sheikah-only domain. She had her house opened up to the public. Like, she just said, go into my house if you want to. I don't care. And she hired some carpenters to improve the village. She did quite a lot for Kakariko before she eventually became the attendant of Princess Zelda. And she is responsible for a number of things, being kind of a bodyguard to Zelda, protecting her quite a bit, but also teaching Link Zelda's Lullaby, the song, which proves that he has a connection to the royal family. And eventually she does help Zelda escape Ganondorf, and later inside the story is revealed to be the Sage of Shadow and has a hand in sealing Ganon within the evil realm. So, lots of stuff about Impa. She seems to be have quite a bit of backstory, a lot more backstory than a lot of Ocarina of Time characters. We hear a lot about things that happened in the past, but I think that Impa is one of the characters that has the most fleshed out backgrounds. I think we have a lot of things we can theorize about that, so I thought it'd be a great discussion for this evening. So the first question is, how did Impa gain influence in Kakariko Village? What did she do? How did she become kind of this representative of the village? How did she get the power to open it up to non-Sheikahs? So let me know about that. Also, why does Impa leave Kakariko to serve Zelda? She obviously cares for the town a ton. She has like an infinite love for this town from what we see. So why does she go to serve Zelda? And all in all, what is Impa standing in the world of Hyrule? Like, is she like a common name? Is she like somebody that you don't know? Is she more like a president, or is she kind of like the secretary for the president. Like, what's going on there? I want your opinions on what you guys may think Impa's role in the world may be. And of course, you can discuss these questions or ask me some questions over at radiohyrule.com/chatroom. And anything that you guys say, I'm going to collect it up and narrow it down to kind of feel what we're generally talking about this evening, and we'll discuss it later on in the show. But for right now, I believe it's time to listen into some amazing music. Tonight, I got a wonderful set list for you. I got inside the first portion, we're going to have a little bit of chiptune goodness from the essence or what is it? It's an Oracle Seasons remix album. And we got, after that, a little bit of folk music for you all. Some folk music. I know. What? It's going to be wacky. It's going to be fun. All right, so keep it tuned in to Radio Hyrule, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Hyrule Academy, everybody. I'm MC, and we've been having a wonderful time over in the chat, talking all about Impa from Ocarina of Time. Lots of great theories and discussions already taking form. I can't wait to share those with you guys, but I have some thoughts of my own that I want to share. But first, of course, what music were you just listening to? First up was No Rain in the Desert, and that's from Chicken Warlord, Hylian Lemon, and of course featuring the wonderful Brandon Strader. That guy, he seems to always show up wherever I go. That Brandon Strader name, he likes to show up. So he always has some definite talent to contribute to many songs out there. And that is from the Lime of the Seasons album. I'm sorry for blanking out on that name there. It's a wonderful Oracle Seasons remix album. It's called Lime of the Seasons. It's available over on OC Remix if you're interested. And then after that, we heard Cluck Old Kuko, which is a nice little folky take on the Kakariko village theme. And that's from World's Best Grandpa is the username. And you can find him also over on OC Remix. Now, to get into some discussions and some thoughts that I had, I want to talk very briefly about two things. First of all, Impa is a central character in The Legend of Zelda, and a lot of people don't really realize how important of a character she is to the Legend of Zelda series. There's a lot of games that don't feature her. There's no Impa. We don't see an Impa, for example, in Twilight Princess, but the fair majority of Zelda games have Impa inside it in some way. Even the first Zelda games had Impa involved in the backstory that you don't see in the game, but rather inside the instruction manuals. And there was promotional artwork that featured Impa from the first Zelda game. It's really kind of cool that Impa's like a character that has lasted just as long as Link, Zelda, and Ganon. She's one of the only characters to be have that on her pedigree, I guess, so to speak. And she's important as the helper character. In that Zelda needs somebody to kind of confide in. So the princess has Impa to kind of, to serve as kind of a second voice for the princess. So you hear like for example, in Ocarina of Time, you hear Princess Zelda go, all right, I have this crazy dream. You need to go find some rocks. We're going to go take the Triforce. And you're like, as a character, or like as a person playing the game, you're like, this kind of sounds like a bad idea. This is kind of why do I trust you? And then Impa comes in, she says, I believe everything the princess said. She's this older, more respectable figure that I kind of really like Impa from Ocarina of Time for that reason, that she enforces this thought that Zelda's not completely crazy. So I really enjoyed that, and I wanted to share that brief thought with you. Second, I wanted to mention, I mentioned earlier that the Impa opened up her house to the public, and I in some ways you can probably think maybe it's kind of like a museum type of thing. She's pretty well respected. A lot of people call her the Great Impa, for example. So maybe it's like you go to Impa's house, like when you go to the museum to check out, cool paintings. You go to Impa's house to check out, the relics of an old leader. You go to, I don't know, I think they have some like dead celebrities. They have their houses open as like a museum and stuff. It's kind of like that, except Impa's not dead. She's just, I guess, like, here, go look at my house. But in a lot of ways, you can also look at it as more of a way of for her to say, if you need a place to stay, you can stay in my home, which I think is a more noble way of looking at it than a museum. So yeah, that was a thought I had about Impa and how she opens up her house to the public, because they made a point of calling it like opening it up to the public, and it was really strange. So Impa also does have a lot of books inside there, as Captain Trina is pointing out inside the chat. So maybe you can go there. It's kind of like half like a library in a way. So Impa's house, a very little piece of trivia that I thought was really interesting. Anyways, we're going to continue on with our discussions this evening. So continue talking over inside the Radio Hyrule chat, radiohyrule.com/chat room, and we'll be back in just a little bit with your thoughts and theories. Welcome back, everybody, to Hyrule Academy. I hope you guys have enjoyed the music. We've been listening to some great tunes. First up, we heard Hyrule Temple from the good old pal of mine, Insane in the Rain music. I had a wonderful little jazz cover and take on the temple theme from Melee mostly, but it's also from Zelda 2. Specifically, that was the source, the original source. And then got it transferred into Melee, and then Insane in the Rain did his thing, and it's all good. It's all good music. After that, we heard Farron Woods from Jam 2995. He's involved with the multiplayer group of creators. They make albums occasionally. Their latest one, Operation 1-Up, released recently. It's a really great charity album, in fact. So I recommend you give that a search. I wasn't subscribed to him for some reason until today, but I found his channel and I was like, hey, he seems to be pretty good. All right, cool. And he's part of multiplayer, so instant subscribe right there. So I'm looking forward to listening to what he has coming. After that, we heard Lullaby of the Sky, and that's from Jillian Aversa and Zircon, and his new song over on OC Remix. It is a wonderful vocal arrangement as well as orchestral take on both Zelda's Lullaby and Ballad of the Goddess, which, of course, Ballad of the Goddess reversed is Zelda's Lullaby, so it's kind of the same song in some ways. So yeah, great songs. I thought they were really good for our discussions tonight, and I know you guys really enjoyed them, so thanks as always for listening into that. But now we're going to get right into what you guys have been saying about Impa. So, first of all, we're going to talk about the name Impa. So, Bub WV says, I think that the name Impa is passed down similar to Zelda in the royal family. The leaders of the Sheikah might do the same. So, how in the world does Impa get into this position of a leader? Well, maybe it's because the name is passed down, and so she was chosen to bear the name Impa. It's not just like, oh, my name is Impa, and I just happen to become the leader. It's, I was born into a leadership position. So it's a theory that we can't really back up. We don't really know. Like, the Sheikah are so mysterious. We don't know anything about their government structure or how they choose a leader or anything like that. So it's kind of a big mystery. But that's a very, very plausible theory right there. It's from Bub WV. After that, Slowpoke as a gamer wanted to kind of say something about Sheikah in general. I would say all these questions I have, like, why is she like important? How does she get standing with the royal family? And how does she become the leader of the Kakariko? And Slowpoke as a gamer says, well, maybe it's just because she's one of the last Sheikah. We don't see any other Sheikah in the game besides Sheik, of course, which is kind of a stretch to call a Sheikah. So it's this thing where we're like, maybe it's because she's one of the last Sheikah, so she's kind of stuck with the job. So it's kind of like being born into it, but in a different way. More of she's just left alone. So that's another good take on it. So, talking about how she gained standing, there's multiple theories that you guys had. How did she gain power in Kakariko? Jack LTTP says, I think that she had ideas and people liked them. It's very simple. She was, for example, she was very influential with building house and stuff with the carpenters. If you talk to the NPCs, they think she's great, so she just got power because she was popular. So Jack's thought and theory on this is that Impa's powerful because she's popular. She's just a likable person. She has ideas and people enjoy them. And Josh Ryu kind of backs it up and says, I think in this particular case, Impa's strongest power was something kind of mundane, initiative. She saw a lot of people without homes as a result of the town fire and decided to take the matters on her own hands and build a place where they could be happy. So she builds a town, she works hard, and she does good stuff. And so that's people like somebody who does that for them, It's like, I'm gonna take you guys under my wing, so to speak. Captain Trina comes in and says, Impa probably gained influence through her actions and dedication to Hyrule. At least sealing Bongo Bongo is an accomplishment that I think that would have made people say, whoa, this lady's awesome. She should be in charge of stuff. And yeah, that's something that wasn't brought up a lot inside the chat, but yeah, she kind of puts Bongo Bongo, this evil dark creature, and seals it away. She does that. So that's pretty darn awesome of Impa. And I think that's something that would gain her a lot of traction and power in the world of Hyrule and Kakariko. Now, Program Ninja says that I think Impa is more of a battle veteran from the Hyrulean Civil War, and everyone respects what she did for what she and her tribe did. So, more so, in this case, it's like, you did a great job in the war, you are powerful, you are nice, here, you are the leader of our town, you deserve it. So maybe it's more of a, thinking that the Sheikah might be more of a militaristic democracy type of structure where their generals are the ones who are in charge, and so maybe she was powerful inside the Civil War, which happened before Ocarina of Time. So a good theory from Program Ninja there that nobody really talked too much about. So why does she leave Kakariko? So we have some theories about that, and how does she gain power with the royal family? So Clark Mash says, when she was requested to be the bodyguard of Zelda, she took it as her only chance to raise a child. So we know that because she doesn't have many other Sheikah, we don't see any other Sheikah, maybe Impa takes it as kind of a motherly type of attitude, because we apparently hear that she was with Zelda ever since Zelda was a baby. So it could be very much a thing where Impa is just wanting to be a motherly figure inside the life of the princess. But of course, there's more factors into this. The Zelda Noob says, my theory is that Impa is part of the royal family at birth, or has some connection to them. Perhaps an ancestor once had the Triforce of Wisdom. So in this case, we're saying that the Sheikah might have more connection with them in the way of some sort of Triforce deal, more or less, where at some point that we haven't seen inside the past before Ocarina of Time, perhaps there was a Sheikah that had a Triforce of Wisdom, and Impa was kind of born into this pre-existing friendship between the royal family and the Sheikah. And Jack LTTV says, Impa seems to be a person of duty. Perhaps she had a strong connection to Kakariko, and so she fixed it up and she helped them there. And when she had the possibility of going to help Zelda, she goes. And it was her job then to protect the royalty of Hyrule. So maybe it's just more about Impa's dedication to being called upon. Kakariko needed her help, so she does it. Then Zelda needs her help, so she goes and does that. And that's a noble way of thinking of Impa. And Slowpoke as a gamer says, kind of a crazy idea. What if Impa serves Zelda as a part of a peace agreement, much how Ganondorf was supposed to swear loyalty to the king? So as we know, the war happened beforehand, and Ganondorf is supposed to bow before the king and say, "We're cool, no hard feelings. We won't battle you or try to kill you in the future, even though that happens. Whoops! Don't trust Ganondorf. That's not good. But no, Impa. Maybe when the peace agreements were being drafted up, maybe the Sheikah is somewhere in the middle and said, all right, well, we want this to be in writing. You are going to serve the royal family, specifically in the way of, protecting the princess, because we know she's important. She's very important. She has the goddess's blood or something. And that's an interesting theory coming in from Slowpoke. And lastly, why does she leave Kakariko to serve Zelda? Well, it's not really a why, but more of an interesting quote, and something to think about, from Nibbiness, who says, it's a quote from Impa, saying, "This is an ancient melody passed down by the royal family. I have played this song for Princess Zelda as a lullaby ever since she was a baby." And what this says is something that we didn't really talk about much inside the chat tonight. It's that Impa has been serving Zelda since she was a baby. So that means Impa, she appears to be older. She seems to be, we don't know how long Sheikah live as compared to Hylians or anything like that. But it's very possible that she was serving Zelda from a very young age, and everything she's done with Kakariko, she may have done at the same time. She might have been working multiple jobs. At least that's what I got from it. Because if we've been serving Zelda for it has to be 10 to 12 years. You guesstimate how old Zelda is. I'm sure Impa's been doing other things other than just sticking around inside the castle. So that was an interesting theory and a little quip that I had related to that quote from Nibbiness. And now finally, we're going to talk about what's her standing in the world of Hyrule. How do people view Impa if you're just a common citizen? What do you think about her? Well, Bub WV says, Impa could kind of be the spokesperson of the Sheikah, since she is more active around Hyrule. So, we don't know if there are other Sheikahs in the world. We only see Impa, but we can assume maybe there is a tribe of Sheikah somewhere out there. Maybe they don't live in Kakariko anymore. Maybe they live inside the mountains or something, somewhere that we can't access in the game for the sake of conversation. So maybe Impa is not only the attendant, but maybe she's also a spokesperson, and the people of Hyrule see her as like a representative. Like, you see Impa walk around Market Town, and you show her some respect. She's a spokesperson for her entire people. That's a good way, a good theory, and I really enjoyed that one. Slowpoke as a gamer says, Impa's probably seen as the biggest leader to the Hylians after the king. So when Ganon takes over and Zelda vanishes, she was probably a fairly high-ranking person. So it's kind of a thought that very much that Impa is not only a person of power, but when everything goes down where the king is most likely killed, we don't see the king ever inside the game. We hear he exists, but we don't hear much about him after Ganon takes over. But Zelda's gone. Ganon's in power, no king. I think that a lot of people would turn to this great Impa that we heard about, who, rebuilt Kakariko, opened it to the public. I think she would serve as a very high-ranking official, so to speak. So if there was anybody to lead any resistance against Ganondorf, out of all the sages that we know, there's Saria, Darunia, Rudo. Rudo's out doing work. She's trying to, do stuff inside the water temple. Darunia's inside the fire temple trying to do work. Saria's just trapped. Poor Saria. She tried her hardest. Naburu's out doing work. She's trying to take down Ganondorf, Yeah, and of course Impa is very powerful in that she's already been doing work for decades possibly. So I think that thinking of Impa as like a next in command type of thing was a very possible thing. So those are some of the theories that you guys had tonight. I don't know if any of them tickled your fancy, but I hope they were entertaining, to say the very least. So we're going to wrap up tonight's show and do a little bit of talking about the future here on the show, what we might be doing next week in just a little bit. But first, I got 2 more beautiful songs for you guys, so please enjoy it. We'll be right back here on Hyrule Academy. Welcome on back, everyone, to more Hyrule Academy. It's been an enjoyable evening, of course, talking with you about Impa. Impa from Ocarina of Time, an excellent character from an excellent game, and we've had some fun times with our theories. And of course, we've been listening to some super music inside the break. We listened to first Dark World from the Consoles. So the Consoles are a wonderful little band. I've been listening to them for a long time. I've had them, on my subscription bar, and I left them a few comments, and they reached out to me, and they were like Super MC Gamer, you've been commenting on our videos, and you seem like a pretty cool guy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're like, if you want to use our music, use our music. And I'm like, heck yeah, this is why the video game music scene is so cool. So give the Consoles a search. They have a wonderful vocal arrangement of the Pokemon anime theme that I recommend everybody listen to all the time. It's so good. So the Consoles, give them a search over on YouTube. Super nice people. And after that, we heard Sword of Hope from Carbohydro M. And Carbo. Can I say Carbo? It seems like a weird way to shorten their name. Carbo made some excellent guitar tunes over the days, and that one was no different. I highly recommend Unsealed by Carbo, though. That is such a great... It's a 20-minute song. It covers the entirety of A Link to the Past and ends with my favorite song in the entirety of gaming, and it does it amazingly, beautifully. So check out Carbo if you want to listen to some good video game tunes. So, to wrap up tonight's discussions, I'm sure you guys have been having fun talking about Impa, who is possibly the last known Sheikah. And because of that, maybe she's made the leader. Maybe she just inherited the name Impa, and Impa's already a name. But either way, she gained standing inside Kakariko Village. And there's a couple of ways that could have happened. Maybe she's just a popular person. Maybe it's her initiative to bring projects and do stuff inside Kakariko that got her popularity. Maybe it was, of course, her stealing a Bongo Bongo, a great evil. That seems like a very likely theory in my books. And maybe it's just because she's a war veteran. People respected her for what she did for all of Hyrule. You know, not just for the Sheikah, but for all of Hyrule. So maybe people gave her lots of respect for that. And she serves Zelda. Maybe it's partly because of a motherly instinct, because maybe there's not many other Sheikahs left, so she kind of takes up Zelda in her older age as kind of like a motherly instinct type of thing. Maybe it's because she has a pre-existing connection to the royal family. Maybe she was born into it and she was told at birth, okay, hey, little Impa, guess what? You're going to take care of the royal family. Deal with it, you know? And or maybe she was just called to duty. Maybe she was, doing her thing Kakariko, and all of a sudden, like, hey, royal family needs you. And she's like, okay, you got it. Or maybe it's because part of a pre-existing peace agreement. So instead of it being it's kind of a mix between a pre-existing connection and being called to duty. Maybe it was a forced agreement for the sake of peace. And overall in Hyrule, maybe she was seen as a spokesperson for the Sheikah. Or maybe she was even seen as a leader of all of Hyrule following the Ganon takeover. But these are just some of the great theories that we heard tonight. I know we didn't get to feature all of them. You guys were having a really great time with your discussions. And so I'm sorry I couldn't feature everything you guys had to say, but I think that was definitely a wonderful show we've had. A wonderful show of discussions and theories. So thank you guys, as always, for coming on out. A reminder to tune in next week, Friday at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, for our discussion on Labrina. That's correct. We have previously discussed Holodrum and where it is in the world and just in general, this place with the varying seasons. So it's gonna be fun to talk about Labrina because there's a lot of really cool things in there that I think we can discuss. So look forward to seeing you guys there next week. As always, please support the station, Radio Hyrule. They're an awesome little station, and I'm so glad to be part of it. We have some really cool things coming up, and any monetary assistance is always appreciated. So throw a few rupees on into the big wallet over at radiohyrule.com/donate. And you can always email me, mc@supermcgamer.com, with any requests or discussion suggestions. Let's try saying that 5 times fast. And as always, everybody, thank you for your inputs. You guys make this show a wonderful pleasure to do week after week. And I know we've had a fun time. And we will continue to have fun times every single week. So that's enough out of me. To finish up tonight's show, I got one last song for you. It's Anthem of a Misguided Youth from the amazing Benjamin Briggs. He does great stuff. Highly recommend his Animal Crossing remix of KK Cruisin', if you're interested inside that. But for now, how about a little bit Zelda music from him? That's definitely pretty darn good. So anyways, that's enough out of me. That's enough. Thank you all for tuning in to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule. I will talk to you guys next week.